Okay, we're here with Kent Sesker of the Dan Gable Museum, Jason Bryant, USA Wrestling. A little recap on big weekend of wrestling with the regional qualifiers and the conference tournaments. Guys, just your overall thoughts on what happened this weekend.
Well, Ken, I think we should start with you. You had one of the smallest regions. You officiated the West region. Pretty good race there with Northern Iowa and Wyoming, and real good performance by Air Force, finishing a strong third. What did you take away from that? You saw it probably closer than anybody else.
Yeah, Air Force, even though they only had one qualifier, competed very well and had a good finish team-wise. One qualifier, their 141-pounder, dominated 16-0 tech fall in the finals. As you mentioned, very good battle between Wyoming and Northern Iowa for the team title. They went head-to-head, I believe, 4 times in the finals, and went 2-2 on that. Wyoming ended up with 6 qualifiers and UNI 3. UNI had a couple of tough breaks. Caleb Flores lost an overtime match in the finals to Martinez from Wyoming, and then lost in the true second to the young man from Utah Valley. But Wyoming, what can you say about the job Mark Branch has done there and his staff since he's been there? Outstanding job, and for the second year in a row they win the Western Regional.
I had a chance to check out the Colonial, the Eastern Wrestling League, and the EIWA, and had a chance to see 30 finals matches in the course of just a matter of hours. And EIWA, the biggest thing I could say, Kevin LaValle, Colorado kid from right up the road here in Lyman, beats Kyle Dake. Ryan Flores knocks off undefeated #1 seed Zach Ray at Lehigh. EIWA, craziness. Cornell won it going away, had 4 champs, 6 in the finals. Best match I thought was Steve Bosak and Robert Hamlin. Hamlin beat him from Lehigh. And that was a match just like their dual meet, so we saw some craziness there. Not a whole lot of craziness in the Eastern Wrestling League, but Randy Stottlemyre, been the coach at Pitt 31 years, wins his first Eastern Wrestling League title. They went 6 for 7 in the finals.
Great performance by Pitt. They've been knocking on the door all year long, and nice to see them cap that off with a conference title. So they're going to the NCAA tournament with some good momentum.
Guys, Big Ten tournament in Chicago, Evanston Northwestern. Great team race with Penn State edging Iowa by 1 point. I think the biggest surprise was Quentin Wright, who'd been injured all year, was outstanding wrestler, 184. Penn State looks like they're going to be really, really tough in Philadelphia.
Yeah, they're going to be tough, going 5 for 5 in the finals. They were 5-1 in the semis. You were there, you saw it, and I think I was like a lot of fans, just looking at my phone, texting illegally while driving to keep up with what was going on in the Big Ten. Now, if you start the year, what Quentin Wright did, winning the Big Ten, would not have been a surprise. Because of the injury, and comes back and wins the Big Ten. You got to like Penn State's chances. I think they still need some help with getting Pataki in. He's a guy that can get them some bonus points against some weaker competition. But yikes, 5 for 5, hats off.
And guys, what about Iowa? 3-time defending national champ. 8 new starters, but wrestling really well right now. They're going to be right in the mix.
You're from Iowa. Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach Tom Brands and his staff, they don't rebuild at Iowa. They reload. And they've had a terrific season. I know Coach Brands took a lot of heat early in the year for not competing in the national duels. Turns out it's probably the best decision because he knew what his team was capable of and knew how to prepare that team. A lot of people didn't give him a chance this year. They went into Penn State for the dual meet early in the year and shut down a sold-out crowd in the rec center and ran the table dual meet-wise with the exception of the tie with Oklahoma State, which a lot of people didn't think they would win that duel or the Penn State duel. And then just 1 point away from winning their 4th consecutive Big Ten title. And McDonough's looking strong again. Blake Raising, in my opinion, a surprise champion at heavyweight.
Very much so, yeah.
And, they're qualifying 9, and they're wrestling really well. And even though they didn't win the Big Ten title, certainly, definitely a threat to still win the NCAA title in Philadelphia.
And another team didn't finish quite as high in the team race as Wisconsin. They've got 4 guys that could be really big point scorers, and they've got a shot at getting another trophy this year.
Yeah, with the way the tournament format works, typically 5 All-Americans get you in that top 6. 4 finalists will really get you in that 2-3 range. I mean, if you can get a little help from some of your other guys that are maybe not finalist worthy, but could be that 5, 6, 7, 8 guy. You're looking at Tyler Graff and Andrew Howe to score you some finalist points. You're looking at guys like that to really, really perform. And they need guys like Colt Schmidt, Eric Bugenhagen. Those guys, if they step up, they can really be in the hunt for a trophy despite only having, less than the amount of guys they would expect to have.
And Trevor Brandvold
Absolutely,
and Travis
sorry.
Rudd have both been ranked really high for Wisconsin. And let's talk a little bit about the Big 12. Oklahoma State's a team that many expect to be in contention at NCAAs. And just talk about your thoughts on the Big 12 tournament.
Well, I think the Big 12, Oklahoma State was favored to win it, and they did. They've got a pretty strong team all season, top to bottom. Jordan Oliver's been outstanding all year long, fourth in the nation last year as a freshman, undefeated. I think he's one of the only clear-cut favorites if you look at all the 10 weight classes, and he's looking very strong. But Parks at 49 is wrestling well. Some of their other guys have had some ups and downs, but very strong lineup. I'm not sure how many they qualify, but I think they're definitely in the mix to potentially win the title and possibly top 4 if they don't win it.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys have trophy possibilities, but obviously I think their chances are really limited. Now, since they didn't get Alon Gilligayev to come back, he wasn't the entry at the Big 12, was hurt way back in November and didn't really wrestle at all this season. So if they were talking trophy, that's a guy I think they really would have needed to really make him a real solid contender for a top 4 spot. They could sneak into that 4, but I think they're going to have to. A lot of guys are going to have to wrestle above. Jamal Parks is going to have to perform at the NCAA championship. Jordan Oliver is going to have to wrestle to his seed. Clayton Foster is going to have to win that national championship for the Cowboys really to be in that trophy hunt.
Brackets come out tomorrow. Just kind of handicap without looking at the brackets, how you see the NCAA tournament race coming out.
Let's see. Here's my bracket.
What weight are you looking at?
Well, right now the bracket, basically right now this thing is basically I have no idea who's going to win the thing. There are 2 questions I've been asked more than anything else this year: who's going to win D1s and where can I get tickets? I have no answers to either one of them. So I think it's going to be a great race. I mean, with 2 Eastern schools in Philadelphia, the media coverage in that part of the country is actually going to be up this year. And of course, Iowa, the juggernaut program, the New York Yankees of college wrestling. People are going to people like to see them lose, and I think that's the story. A lot of these Eastern media outlets are going to pay attention to is can the little Ivy and can the power of the Pennsylvania knock off the juggernaut Iowa. I think it's going to be good for media coverage, especially. So to answer your question, I have no idea.
Well, I think it's wide open, as you mentioned, Jason. You look at Cornell, Penn State, Iowa, Oklahoma State, and even teams like Wisconsin and Minnesota and possibly Boise State. If they get on a run and can perform well, you all know how it is. A couple losses on Thursday can really hurt you and put guys on the backside. So it makes for a very exciting NCAA tournament. I think we've got 6 teams that got a legitimate shot to win this tournament, and it has the makings for another great NCAA tournament.
What about the health of these guys? Andrew House coming off a pretty bad hamstring injury. Darren Caldwell's had a shoulder problem. Quentin Wright in his shoulder. I think just how these guys hold up. I mean, how big a factor is that going to be?
Well, now I think it's the time you just got to basically just suck it up. I mean, this is the national tournament. Everybody there has bumps, bruises, bites, ding here, tweak there. Those guys are just the ones that it's been written about. I think every single wrestler's got something. I don't think anybody's going to go into this tournament 100% fresh. It's just impossible with as long as the season is. Some people are going to probably feel better than others, but if Wright gets over his shoulder, that's a real point of contention. I'll cut that out. If Wright gets over his shoulder, that's something Penn State's going to need. They're going to need Andrew Howell to win it to make it see the match everybody wants to see with Burroughs and Howell Part 2.
Well, a lot of hype. David Taylor and Ed Ruth, 2 great freshmen. I mean, they're freshmen though. This is their first time. I mean, that's going to be a big factor, obviously.
Well, it will and it won't. I can remember in 1999 having an argument with a guy on the street talking about whether Cale Sanderson was going to win his title that year against the guy from Minnesota, Brandon Agam. And I said, well, Sanderson won't win it. He's a freshman. I said, Sanderson will dominate. And he beat him 6-1, and it was pretty dominant. But David Taylor, boy, what can you say about that guy? Undefeated, only 2 matches where he hasn't scored a major or greater. Ed Ruth, another fantastic young wrestler from Penn State. I think both of these young men have an excellent chance of making it to the finals and possibly bringing home the gold. So, you never know. There's a lot of good guys in there. You got Reeder at 74 and Mac Lunas, and 57 you got Fittery and some of these other guys. So, once you get into the quarterfinals, your margin for error is so limited. You really have to wrestle at your best and have a little luck at the same time.
And I think what you're basically saying, Ken, is we have no idea. No wrestling media person, no prognosticator has any idea how things are going to shake out. And that's what's going to make it fun.
That's what makes it exciting.
If anybody hits 10 for 10 final champs
and
picks, buy a lottery ticket.
And the last NCAA tournament for Anthony Robles, he's been a lot of fun to watch and a great story, and he's got a great shot to win it.
Yes, he does. Undefeated at 125 pounds this year, two-time All-American. You don't want to get underneath the guy. He's a tilting machine, and he's very tough on top. Interestingly enough,
Can he tilt you?
Probably.
Yeah.
he's pretty darn good. He hasn't wrestled McDonough. And again, you got Preeson, obviously, from Northwestern in the mix, who's 1-2 against McDonough this year, and several other good guys. But Robles, you say, has got to either be the 1 or the 2 seed based upon what he's done thus far. So
that could be a point of discussion. You got 2 All-Americans. Preeson's ahead of Robles in the previous placement. They split. Preeson has the most recent win for 3rd and 4th 2 years ago. They'll look at that with the seeding, so it's going to be interesting. But as far as Anthony goes, it's going to be a real special time to watch him. Having talked to him over the years, just a tremendous young man, great heart, great head, and just somebody. Even it's the only time I think anybody from say Iowa could root for him is when he's not wrestling McDonough, because he's just that good of an individual. You like a kid like that, and he's not cocky, he's not heady, he just goes out there, smiles all the time, and destroys people.
He's a great competitor, and he's a terrific wrestler, and quite honestly, he's a pretty tough matchup. How do you prepare for a guy like that, Jason?
You don't. You just hope.
As wide open as the team race is, how about the race for the Hodge Trophy? There's just a handful of guys that are probably still in the mix to win this.
A lot of guys still undefeated at this point. Robles is one of them. One person that I don't think anybody's even talking about is because he's probably the 4th best guy at 125 right now, but undefeated. He comes through the 25 bracket. We're talking about Nicholson from Old Dominion. He's got 19 bonus wins this year. He wins at 25, which it's a long shot.
It's a tough road.
He's got a tough road to go, but he's another guy that's undefeated. Clayton Foster's in that mix. I think Adam Hall's kind of out of the mix because of the loss in the All-Star Classic, but on the record, he's undefeated. Taylor, Fittery, Jordan Burroughs.
Jordan Burroughs, Jordan Oliver, Jonathan Reeder. You've got a lot of undefeated guys who've racked up.
Now Zach Ray just got beat, so he's out.
Racked up a lot of bonus points, so we'll see. Reeder's been pretty dominant, but we know he's got to go through Ruth and/or Lunas to win that title.
Kellen Russell.
We'll see.
Kellen Russell, another one, yeah.
Kellen Russ, boy.
Nice 5-pointer, too, on Thorne in the finals there. It's a nice little...
He's been tough all year. He's been
yeah.
awful tough in one of the toughest weight classes. So that should probably hold a little bit more bearing if he does win at 141, which might be one of the toughest weight classes this year at the NCAA tournament.
If not one of the deepest.
Yes.
And final thoughts, guys?
I think Kent is a dashing young man, much better looking than his brother, but almost as good as a radio host as Kyle Klingman.
Almost as good? Kyle's pretty good. I'll take that as a compliment. But, as soon as we get you to the point where you can join the elite and have a pure bald head, Jason, we'd love to have you join the group.
I don't know. It's,
Good job.
I think that went over big time.